Good evening. It is February 22nd, which probably doesn't matter that I tell you what date it is, because by the time you watch this on YouTube, it's definitely not February 22nd. And this is Legends of Valcia, episode 27, the best introduction at the very beginning, with no technical difficulties beforehand, ever. And I am Llama Chomp. I'll be playing Harbeck Iron Fist, a dwarf who punches things and makes things to drink, and then drinks the things so he can punch things more gooder. Above me is Eversor.
Hi, I'm Eversor. I'll be playing Brieg, who is a gnomish arcane trickster with dissociative identity disorder. Or, a god shoved in his head. Depends on your take, I guess.
And above him is Babs, who will be playing a blank space because she remembered all day that we had D&D until 10 minutes before and then went to the grocery store. But she'll be here later, so, part 2, probably. She'll be here for that. And we'll make her do the recap, even though she wasn't here for part 1, and that will be entertaining. And over there is Nima.
Hi, I'm Nima. I'm going to be playing Gergintius. He's an easygoing fighter who was raised by a dwarf.
And above him is Flick.
I'm Flick. I'll be playing Tabrin. Loves magic and the art of the con.
And in the top corner, hiding under that hoodie, the man who adjectives will not stick to, Lolash.
I am rubber, they are glue. I'm Lolash. I play as the DM, so I make sure that the party is in constant peril and confusion and all of that stuff. That's what I do. And it's fun. So we need to do a recap. Tabrin, you were sort of a bit centered in last week's story, so why don't you take that one for us?
Yeah, totally. So last week we started off just having completed the Dwarven Monastery puzzle with the awesome rings and words and riddles. But some other things that had happened there, Harbeck has a really awesome golden beard now, which is really weird. And as we were exiting, we got curious about the barrels outside the room. The note was gone, and Tabrin noticed a strange mushroom growing up near his feet, and kind of panicked for a second because last time we had weird mushrooms, Harbeck went deaf. And so he pretty much gave the party 10 seconds to decide if they were going to leave or stay. So they decided to look inside the barrels, and Tabrin broke rule number 1 of adventuring and left the party on his own. As they cracked open the barrels, they found the bodies of dwarves that had been preserved, but not really a noble burial. So they hauled the barrels out when they discovered that I was missing, left the barrels outside the cave, and came to find Tabrin, who was continuing to follow a trail of mushrooms out of the cave, off into the forest, into the swamp. After a while, the party caught up to Tabrin. Tabrin, without much words, just told them to continue following him. When Tabrin finally came to a place that felt like home, he encouraged everyone to join him in the circle, and as everyone entered the circle, each individual felt peace or calm, and we were transported to an area in which Drudanash, one of the ancient gods, is lying on a bed of sorts in his last moments. We we learned that Tabarin is from the past of another world that is now destroyed. His entire family also destroyed with it. And that the future of Valcia may hold the same fate if we're not able to stop the powers at hand that are trying to take over and destroy the world. And I have a wife. Tabarin has a wife that apparently was a major part of that whole conversation as Tabarin opened up a little bit more about his past. Drudanosh died, at which we all inhaled vapors of his essence and gained some new skills and abilities. And now we got to figure out what's going on and where we're going.
I think that pretty much covers everything. Couple of little bits that were glossed over. The dwarves that were stuffed into the barrels, the pickled dwarves, they were disciples of the primary dwarven god. Does anybody remember his name? Has anybody written it down?
Glorden.
Glorden.
Glorden, yay!
Remember, I wrote it down not because I would ever look at it, but because the act of writing it down would make me remember.
I do remember that.
It worked.
And what else was there that you did? Oh, once Drudanash evaporated and you inhaled the spores that he let off, you found yourself back in the clearing, and it appeared that no time had passed, and Din asked the grass how long had passed, and the grass said about a half a second, which is very strange. Din was just talking to the grass. The whole party was thrown off by that a little bit. Maybe she's even more crazy than Brieg, possibly.
That was very strange.
No.
It was very, very strange. Anyway, so we find ourselves in the clearing, a little ways east, a few miles east of the cave that they were inside, where the dwarven monastery was, and they're now standing inside what they guess is some kind of fairy circle, a ring of flowers and mushrooms. After having experienced everything they've just experienced and learning that Tabarin is like 4,300 years old and comes from a world that no longer exists, and that there are multiple planes of existence, and that Sarath is not actually the big bad guy and is just a puppet, and that like punching gods is not going to solve the problem, and it's all very much overwhelming. But at this point, the party doesn't have any like primary leads. They don't have any direction. They don't have anywhere to go. So there's all this information to process, and nothing immediately pressing as far as we need to get to this location. So, party, discuss.
I would just like to point out that while punching gods may not solve the problem, I still think we should do it.
No, it will solve the problem. Wasn't that like the whole point? Was that we had to learn how to kill gods?
Well, yeah, but we learned that Sarath is not like the one in charge like we had always assumed. So killing gods may not completely solve the problem.
If it
There's
solves it on
somebody
our
else.
plane of existence, I'm not ready to save the multiverse yet. I'm saving one entire world at a time, okay? Can we limit ourselves to something achievable, like only killing the gods of a single universe?
All right, that's fair.
Achievable. Set realistic goals. Baby steps.
Goals. only one plane's
I
gods
only
at a time.
need to decimate one pantheon.
Back at the monastery, Brieg and Harbeck, you guys had a vision, and I kind of want to go back to that and understand what you saw. Maybe there's information there for us.
Do you remember the vision?
Do you have any specific questions?
Well,
Or do you just want me to tell you again what it was we saw?
yeah, I mean, there was destruction. I mean, who was there? What was it?
It was so we had a vision of what I assume is Elysium. It was the realm of the good aligned gods, and we saw it overrun by lizard people, dragon people, some sort of reptilian man-shaped creatures coming out of the coming out of holes that ripped open in the ground, and they were just sowing destruction. I'm not sure exactly what sorts of details you're looking for.
We need some mic feedback.
On that
You
note-
guys check your, like maybe a push to talk key or a volume threshold. Somebody's giving us a bunch of static.
I muted mine and continued to hear it, so I'll mute it again.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, I know what it was. It was me.
Okay.
On that
I had
note,
turned.
shouldn't we go bury those pickles?
They've waited probably at least days, if not weeks or months. I don't imagine that they'll be in a lot of a hurry if we need to discuss the vision and more pressing matters. I mean, we should get around to it, but I don't think there's a big hurry necessarily.
It seems to me that we can walk and talk at the same time.
Aye. That's what I'm getting at.
The static is back. What is that? The reason I thought it was Tabern is because it first happened when he covered up his mic with his hand. But is that you?
Was it
Olash?
me?
It shouldn't be. Hang on, I'm going to mute my mic and see if it goes away.
Yeah.
And is it back now?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay, that's like, it's really strange because I haven't changed anything. Let me just make sure my connections are all good. And there may be like a little bit of noise when I adjust in my chair, but
Yeah, it wasn't that
shouldn't
kind
be
of
any
noise.
static.
It was it was like
A breeze.
like you're in a room with a lot of background noise and the mic's open. Like it sounded like somebody needed to set their threshold.
Turn down their mic sensitivity or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird. It's
I
gone now.
don't think there's an issue now.
Which,
Yeah, I
means
guess-
it's
I
going
guess
to
we're
come
fine.
back at random.
So, okay, well, hopefully it wasn't, or it's fixed now, hopefully. So, we're going to be heading back towards the pickled dwarves and discussing.
Yeah, while we have
Yeah.
this conversation, we're going to start moving in the direction of those
Follow the
people towards-
mushrooms.
Okay.
So
So you're heading back.
you saw yourselves in the vision, correct?
Yes.
Kind
Well,
of. I mean,
we
I saw
saw-
a being that I assume represented Brig, and another one that I assume represented Din, and I saw one that I think represented me, but it wasn't. My perspective was not from his eyes. It was weird. Visions are weird.
Right. It was Have you ever had a dream where there was someone in it that you knew was someone that you are familiar with in the waking world, but it didn't look anything like them? It was sort of like that, right? There was a figure that was not actually me, and there's another one that was not actually Harbeck, but at the same time I knew who they were, you know what I mean?
Right. At the end of the vision, you had mentioned the destruction you'd witnessed, and then there was mention from Harbeck and about not letting the end of that vision come to happen. What happened?
That would be the lizard folk coming up out of the ground and destroying everything.
Right, they just kind of killed, like heaven. Like, can you kill a place? Because they did that. They killed the place and the people. There were. I was dead, and there was like a winged man that was dead, and that was kind of unfortunate. But also, like, heaven was dead. Like, they killed.
Well,
Right? They were just tearing it all apart.
well, there's a start. I mean, there's a figure in that vision that we don't have answers for. Is there? Who is that? They're obviously at your side.
Right, he wasn't there at the beginning, and then he was there after the destruction. It's a bit fuzzy. Visions don't. I don't know that they're meant to be. Make sense. At least if they are, I'm not good at them.
Right. I'm not sure that there are any clues that we've missed in.
I suppose
in that vision.
the unidentified figure might be a clue, but I don't know what it means.
Nor how to identify it.
Well, Tavern just kind of catches himself mid-breath and gets lost in thought for a moment.
Harbeck doesn't notice. I also don't have any idea where we should go next. Do we have a lead on another Oak Trust?
Well, the goblins were kind of suspect, right? Maybe they know something.
Well, that's more of a lead than we have.
I suppose if we have really no idea where to go, they are at least an aberration. Something unexplained that we can try to find an explanation for.
Brig, roll a perception check for me.
Okay. I got so much better at perception recently.
21. Binks is being cute. He's curled up on your shoulder, nuzzling your neck. Purring.
Binks, are you alright? Parents don't usually purr. Are you alright?
What was that weird skinny cat you've got turned into a cat finally?
I'm gonna reach over and kind of pick him up and hold him in front of myself and have a little chat with him in squeaky language.
In squeaky language?
I suspect that it sounds a lot like Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. Squeak, squeaker, squeak, squeaking.
And then of course Binks answers back, squeak, squeaker, squeak, squeaking.
Yeah.
Can we get a link to that the ferret?
Ferret noise again?
I'm not doing it again. It's not happening.
Okay, so
Binks,
yeah, I'm gonna ask him
Binks winks at you.
If you wouldn't mind giving me a moment, I need to have a talk with my ferret.
Sure. Oh, I've got an idea. What was that guy's name? Shadow, are you still following us? Do you know where the next one is?
Binks, is there?
Oh.
I mean, Binks.
I had high hopes
Is there
for
something?
that.
Something that I can help you with?
Perhaps. Everybody heard Binks say that, by the way, and it was not ferret squeak.
It really does talk.
I can speak ferret.
No, I think the
am
ferret
I
was
squeaking
speaking
right
common.
now? Oh,
Yeah, that. I'm gonna carefully set Binks down in front of me. Say, what do you need? I suppose. Are you who I think you are?
Depends who you think I am.
Is it the fellow?
oh, I get this now. Binks 8, Drudenash 2.
What?
That's possible, I suppose.
You're right, little one.
The
It's
Thalagor.
me.
Well, I certainly owe you whatever it is that you need. How can we help?
You're not gonna like it.
That sounds right up our alley. That's not any change from the norm. We excel at not liking what we have to do.
When you say you're not going to like it, do you mean I'm not going to like it, or we're not going to like it?
A little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. Remember our private conversation?
Yes,
I told you I'd known of loss as well.
of course.
Seems your path is destined to take you somewhere where you can fix that.
Of course. I'll help in any way I can.
My mate is being held captive.
Where?
In the menagerie at the Vallis Gardens in Iliander.
I don't recognize any of those words.
I recognized one.
That's in Thacon.
Oh,
That's
that
the
Yes.
Elven capital.
Yes, it is.
You know what? do you know what will happen to me if I go there?
I didn't peg you, Binks, as being so
The other thing.
what's the word for the thing you're being right now? That you're taking a bit too much joy in this terrible news. What about this is making you so
Say
pleased
this?
with yourself?
Oh, it's all a game, round one. It's all a game.
I don't like the game that is
Freak.
get chopped up by elven swords. That's not. I don't like that one. That's not my favorite game. I mean, I like the game of how many pints can you drink. That's fun. But not how many swords can you get stuck through you before you die. It's not a great one.
Brieg, was Binks always like this?
It's not Binks, or rather it is Binks, but I think the Felagor is using him as some sort of channel to communicate with us.
You are the clever one.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Wait, do you still grant wishes?
I've granted wishes.
Right. I think that it would be excellent if you granted me elven sword proofness. That would be very helpful currently. I'd like to not be able to be hit by them.
Wishes were granted and promises were made.
Okay.
I probably should have made a wish. Is that wish still active?
I just, I don't know how much trouble it is to grant a wish, but if we have to go to
Don't.
take on where it's full of elves that don't like us very much, you know.
Perhaps you remember the first thing we learned. Don't annoy the Felagor.
We're having a conversation. If you're getting annoyed, let me know.
Conversations can be annoying.
Right, but I mean, he's making jokes about us dying. I'm making other jokes about us not dying. It's an exchange. I hope.
Pigsagor, can I call you that? I wish for a magic hat. This is just a test.
Don't mind him. He's a bit simple.
Sure. You can have a magic hat. Not a problem at all. You'll find it soon. Remember your promises, little one. Free my mate. You'll find a way, I'm confident.
It seems to me that I'm the only one for whom wishes were granted. That means that this responsibility falls to me, correct? I
Oh,
can't guarantee the cooperation of my companions. It's quite a thing you're asking.
I'd cooperate if I were swordproof.
Binks has just started squeaking and run up your leg, by the way.
Ugh.
well, guys, think about it.
So
His
So I
mate
look
is a
up at the-
Felagor, which can grant us wishes.
I look up at the party and say, I suppose that last bit was for you as much as it was for him. I have no idea how I will do it, how we would do it, but it's a promise that I've made, not one that you did.
Remember
Well,
what Drudanash said in regards to what lie ahead
Yeah, I didn't
and
like hearing
mentioning
it from him
the other
either.
Fae?
He did also say seek power.
so
Wishes can grant power.
So, my plan, as of this moment, is to never wonder aloud where we're supposed to go next, because we might get an answer, and in my experience, that hasn't been very good. But, that said, Brig, fellow deity, I plan on following you wherever you need to go. And if I be run through by some elven swords, well, at least we'll get stabbed to death together.
So every time the elves are mentioned, Brieg like winces just a little bit and gets like more and more drawn in on himself, and he eventually just says, I'm honestly not sure that I can do it.
Would you like... Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
He's doing the humble thing again.
Right. Now, I understand that you're afraid.
I'm about to do the stab you in the face thing.
Wait,
I'm
me?
sorry. Don't kill me.
Wait, save that for the elves. They've got some faces that maybe once you get your blood, their blood flowing, maybe this whole adventure will seem more enjoyable. We could just go on a big murdering spree. This is a terrible plan. They have like an army. We're like 6 people.
No, they don't have
Can't
an
even
army.
count.
They
How
are
many
an
people
army.
are we?
Like
5
the entire
and a horse.
and a ferret.
And a
And a mule.
donkey.
We've got Boozy.
Mule.
You know,
Boozy.
Right, so
I
6
suppose
people roughly.
all those animals together probably count as one. You don't. I don't think you have. I mean, we've had some experiences with the elves, but they don't have an army. They are an army.
Right.
I mean, it's an entire
I have a
nation.
plan.
Then, but we can just. I'm sure that they do
They-
non-army things, or how do you? I mean, they've got to feed their
They
I have a
army
found
plan,
somehow.
guys. I have a
Hundreds of
plan.
miles away. We don't need a plan now. We need a direction.
Oh,
And this is a direction we need to head.
East.
East. The direction.
Well,
guess-
Prince Thorum owes us a favor, right?
I don't think that our favor goes as far as get in a war with the elves. I think that's probably
You sell
that's
swords,
probably like
maybe?
10% outside the range of what we can expect from our favor.
He's. He may not. We may not be able to ask him to go to war. That would be a foolish thing for both
Well,
parties.
we can ask him to spare a few sellswords.
Well, we might ask him if he can get us into Thacon.
What
That's
relationship
a
do you think
better
Storm
idea.
Falls has with Thacon?
He's at least a prince. We're a pile of nothing. Well, I mean, we're gods, but nobody knows that but us.
Well, that's got to go. I mean, if
Maybe he'll give us a ship.
don't say that. There's not even water between here and there. We don't want a ship.
I was hoping more that he'd give us some papers that say we're, there at his request. I mean,
How?
other than the fact that there is a large percentage of them that are actively looking for me,
Right.
which is terrifying. I don't think that the elves of Thacon are just overtly hostile. There's no reason for most of you to think that they're going to just want to kill you on sight. Just me. I really don't know about this.
Well, and us by association. I mean,
Well, right, but I mean, if we can do something about me, disguises or whatever, and get permission to travel inside Thacon, I don't
If I
think
can
we
turn
need to.
Harbeck into a woman dwarf, I can get you anywhere.
I've got some magic that can help in maintaining that disguise. I'm just saying that we don't need to be. I don't know if I can do this.
so this is probably what,
sorry,
3
I
weeks?
just mean that.
Brig,
How long do you estimate it'd take us to walk to Leander? I'd say 3-4 weeks, depending on how the mountains go.
Right, but it's getting through those mountains is going to be the first trick.
Right. So
I
why don't we
got out of Thacon once.
say,
also-
hey, we've got 3 weeks to plan this and start walking that direction after we bury the dwarves.
Right, don't you think
Isn't that direction a bad idea? Isn't someone looking for Brieg in this general direction?
I don't think they have
They
any
could be
idea
anywhere.
where to look for Brieg. The last place we saw them was Veer?
no, we saw him at Port Maverick.
Port
Did they
Maverick?
see
you
us
saw
at
it
Port
at Port
Maverick?
Maverick.
I don't think so.
Right. So,
Excuse me, I don't know if I can do this.
the place they're looking for us is exactly half a world away. So we might as well. I think we're pretty well hidden here.
Brig, you can do this.
You don't
I just
know.
found out that my entire family in past life is gone. But now I've learned that there's a lot more in the life that I have now.
I wonder what
Up until this point, I've been pretty secretive of my life and ultimately my objectives, but all of our lives are intertwined at this point. And I may not know fully how mine fits in with you and Harbeck and your connection to the gods, but we have a purpose to find answers. And if we have some powerful being that's leading us to the other Fae that Drudenosh mentioned, you know that Harbeck, myself, Din, Gergintius, we're at your side. You're not going to go back into prison. You're not going to be tortured. Whatever it is, we don't really know what your life was like, but we're not going to let you go.
And I would and have trusted you with my life, and I don't doubt for a minute your dedication nor your loyalty. What I doubt is my ability to do. I don't mean I won't go. Of course I will. I owe it to the Felagor, and not only that, but the fate of the world is literally riding on us figuring out what's going on. What I'm saying is that as far as I've come and as much progress as I feel like I've made, I am not sure that I can do it. I mean, I don't know that my mind is sturdy enough to handle it. I am aware of some of the things that happen in my mind, and that I'm not always in control. And if we start moving in the direction of going back to the elves, I don't know that I will be able to stay in charge.
So,
Do you
Bree,
know what I mean?
what if we tell you that we're going somewhere else? Like, maybe we're going to the Huon Mines, perhaps. Right, and then you believe that, so we can get all the way there. And then, we get there and we say, by the way, we're on the border of Thacon, let's go. And then Lord Silverstar can... I've had some great conversations with the bloke. He seems fine. And maybe he can
Harbeck
come
and I have...
and fulfill your obligations for a little while. And that would be alright.
Brig, everything, the concept of going there in the first place is terrifying. The history and the memories, but everything washing over you now, the concept that, these other people are going to be following you into an incredibly dangerous situation, and the fate of the world and the fragmentation of your mind, it builds up, and the pressure inside you, it feels like you're going to explode. You can't rectify everything in your head. It's just too much. You can't process it.
So just like in those minutes while I'm fading, Breek says, "Look, I'll be here. I'll be with you, and as much as I can, I'll try to help." And then he has this minute where he kind of shakes his head and goes, "So, I understand that we need to be headed back to Thacon. That's pleasant."
I haven't spoken to you in ages. How are you?
Well, I've been busy.
I think the last time we talked was at the vampire's house.
Oh,
It has been some time.
so he's not the one who killed those people at night.
No. This is Lord Silverstar. Lord Silverstar, Gargantia Smithson. He's been traveling with us. Quite a competent fighter.
Excellent. It will be lovely to have you along. So, the journey from here to Huracan will probably be our first stop. The journey is perilous. The wilds to the west of Thacon are dangerous territory, to say the least.
When last you
But
were
I'm
in
confident that
Thacon,
with
did
our
you
abilities
leave?
and with my leadership, we should be able to make it through.
Did you leave to the west or to the east?
When I last left,
Right, didn't you?
Well-
Weren't you in Thacon before? Perhaps I'm remembering
yes,
incorrectly.
I was born in Thacon. I was raised in Thacon. I served in the military in Thacon. I believe the last time I left was by ship from out of Port Itian. I've been in and out, who knows how many times, doing various things, research, etc.
Okay, but point is, you were familiar with this side of the world.
Well, not overly familiar. It's wild territory. There's not much reason to come here, but I've been through it perhaps once or twice in my long life.
Oh,
So it's about at this point that you've managed to make it back to the cave entrance, by the way. So you're at your old camp. There are barrels full of pickled dwarf that need to be dealt with.
Right.
So, grab a shovel.
Unlikely.
What do I know about proper dwarven burials? I bet they are grab a chisel.
So
Rocks.
typically,
Right.
dwarves are interred underground in stone, under the earth. There may be like catacombs or some place to bury/store them in the dwarven monastery that you left earlier. I mean, you didn't get a chance to fully explore that place, so.
The question is, do we want to?
How would they have ended up in a barrel in the first place? It seems super weird.
I suspect unpleasantness. Leaving a dwarf in a barrel is not proper.
That
Probably
sounds
accurate,
sciencey.
Silverstone.
Does that sound sciencey to you guys?
No?
I'm honestly not sure what you mean by sciencey.
I mean, those doors may be research experiments. I mean,
wish
to be
Din were
used
here.
for an experiment.
That is a distressing thought.
Hey, guess who
Wish
just
granted!
Guess who we just got?
Yay!
Hi.
Yay!
We have a Babs. Right. So while Llama sorts out his cameras,
So I'm gonna start digging. Some of you go find some rocks. Let's not go inside the cave.
You know, as deep and vast as my knowledge is, I am unfamiliar with proper burial ceremonies. Is digging completely necessary?
I mean, we need a hole, right? Then we just put rocks over them, and then say a prayer.
What is... Lolash, what is the proper dwarven... Like, if we wanted to give these guys the quick version of a respectful burial, what does that look like
I'll
for
see
a
if I
dwarf?
actually know. Oh, I pretty much know how this works.
you would take them down into the cave and cover them in rocks.
Okay, just anywhere where they're, like, in the rock.
Completely surrounded
Yeah.
by stone.
You would have to get them basically, fully surrounded by stone. That would be the appropriate burial rites for the dwarves.
Well, it won't be a full ceremonial send-off, but we don't know them well enough to do that anyway. We should just take them underground and make sure that they return to the stone.
I'll make sure it's nice and deep.
Shouldn't take but a few minutes.
Very well.
Still gonna try and get as deep as I can here.
Tabarin stays outside. He's doing some kind of magic-y thing with a mirror. If you were trained in Arcana, you could know what he's doing.
I might be now.
Oh.
I am. Boom.
Whoa.
I'm too focused on digging to even look.
Wow.
Wow.
He's casting a scrying spell. Clearly casting a scrying spell.
I'm pretty sure that should not have been possible.
That number?
Yeah.
That probably
why not?
has some of Brieg's like skillness, right? Plus 13?
Oh,
Did,
wait. I
did
know where it
you
is.
expertise?
No, I know what it is. I figured it out. Let me fix it. Okay. So take 4 off of that. That's just a 27.
That's still more than enough. He's
So-
casting a scrying spell.
So Harbeck's going to put some rocks on some dwarves in the cave.
Okay.
And
Din wandered off and did some hunting and has just come back out of the forest after you guys with a brace of rabbits, some fresh food, but has no idea what you've just discussed.
Din! Silver Star's back.
Yeah?
You remember Lord Silverstar.
Yep.
He's found us. He's probably going to be here for a while because we told Brieg we were going to Thakon, and he left.
Oh. Why are we going to Thakon?
The
Didn't my dear your
ferret
hunting
told
trip
us
is...
to.
Binks the Gore told us.
The Felagor,
Binks told us
speaking
to?
through my familiar,
Right,
told us
that,
that...
that thing.
Right, the Felagor, speaking through my familiar Binks, instructed us that he has a mate who has been captured in the menagerie in Iliander and requested that we save her.
Go save the
him.
big
I'm actually
flying
not
cat.
The big flying cat's mate. I'm not actually sure if the Felagor that we interacted with was male or female. But its mate.
It was pretty
is in
big. Did you not
Iliander.
pay attention?
No.
We never saw.
The
never
Felagor
never
spoke
saw
from
it
the shadows.
flying?
It didn't, like, stand up and show me its genitalia.
Okay. And the elves have it?
Yes, that's what it said.
So you're just gonna talk to them and tell them to give it back?
I doubt it will be quite that easy, but
I think
we'll try.
it sounded to me a bit
But-
like we were going to go break it out of a zoo.
Oh. We're gonna steal it.
Right, but it can
That
fly.
doesn't make any sense.
So
How do
if we
they
can
own
get
it
to
when
it-
it's already a... You can't own a Felagor.
Right, but
I
you
don't
can
know
put
that
one
they
in a
own
cage.
it. I believe they have it imprisoned.
That's not nice. We should go get it back.
Probably some sort of magical.
I can't imagine that
given
it's
the
very easy to
creature's
keep a
magical
Felagor
nature.
in prison. I
The
bet you'd have
elves
all
are very
sorts
smart.
of terrible
Incredibly.
things happen to you.
The elves are incredibly talented.
Right.
You're gonna have to be
what
more
I'm afraid
talented.
of, I think, is what I'm putting together here.
It's okay.
Is that a person who
We're
can contain
really
a Felagor?
sneaky.
Like, I'd rather go punch a god, I think.
Except for you. You are not very sneaky, Harbeck. But the rest of us are really sneaky. So what if we use Harbeck as a distraction and the rest of us sneak in and get out the Felagor?
Look, let's break this down. Approach it one problem at a time. Initially,
Oh.
we need to get into Thakon. Well, first we need to get to the borders of Thakon. Perhaps we should take that first. And since we're going to be crossing that way anyway, through the plains of Severly. You said
Sereth.
Yusuf, not as a question because
Sereth.
the plains of Sereth. Since we're going to be crossing the plains of Sereth anyway, taking the most direct route, perhaps we could stop by the ruins of Regan. I believe that something that I once owned may be there, and I should like to recover it since we'll be in the area.
It's on the way.
Okay.
I wonder what happens, speaking of objects we used to own. Brieg was sort of the quartermaster of the group. I wonder what we put in the contract for when Brieg isn't Brieg. Or I mean, when he leaves.
Well, I'm not sure that there's anything directly in the contract, but Brieg did transfer all ownership to me under the same conditions that were previously stated. I understand.
Was it when the two of you had a conversation?
Certainly, I like the gnomish fellow. A bit odd, but we get along.
I don't know. Oh, okay.
It hasn't been taken down in writing, so I suppose if it came down to it and we were back in some sort of legal bind, we may have a problem, but let's just try to avoid any more entanglements with the dwarven legal system, shall we?
Right, let's just not identify any more items for a minute.
Well, at least not within the borders of Thorin Falls, which I believe was the stipulation that was broken.
Right. It takes about an hour to get the bodies situated and covered in stone. They're perfectly preserved. You can't tell how long they've been dead for. If it wasn't for the fact that they were submerged in some liquid in a barrel, you would almost think they were alive. It's eerie how lifelike they look, considering. But you managed to get them situated in the graves and cover them with stones. And
Kit, maybe during this process, looking at how alive they look, maybe, I don't know, maybe not. That description seems like I would probably pause for a moment and wonder about if they were really dead, or like weird dwarf golems, or like, in some suspended animation or something. That sounds very suspect.
okay.
I was probably too busy looking out for stupid parasite bee stinger things in the cave to notice. So I don't know if I would have
I'm gonna
noticed
roll a
or
dice.
not.
I'm going to roll a dice. Something you do feel off. You feel off, and you feel compelled to investigate the bodies more thoroughly. Roll an investigation check.
Oh, I'm not good at that one.
An 11 will do. You feel like they're alive. Like they're not stiff. There's no in any decay or anything. It's incredibly strange. And as you're sort of checking them and maybe they're alive. Are they breathing? And you sort of open their mouth slightly and hold your hand against it to see if you can feel a breath. At this point, you don't want to put them in the ground until you're absolutely 100% sure that they're in fact dead. When you open their mouth, you find that inside their mouth, on their tongue, is a small, round, yellow crystal.
Oh no!
On each.
They shouldn't have eaten those. That's a terrible
on each
idea.
of them.
But do we know if we can?
Be careful not to touch it.
Right. I think we've all learned that.
You can magic
Gidgius,
it.
did you know not to touch these?
I didn't touch their tongues.
Right, but if you see a yellow crystal, don't touch it. We'll learn that a while. You should know that.
Yeah, that killed Binks, didn't it?
Right.
I mean,
Pretty much most yellow
Yes.
things just don't touch them.
So, speaking of when it
Snow.
killed Binks, do you remember how he how the crystal appeared after he touched it? It was
clear.
clear, drained of its yellowness. Something different must be happening here.
Maybe it's okay to touch if you touch it with your tongue.
Right.
Maybe
These guys
it's
look like
okay
they're
to
doing
touch if you're
great.
dead.
Maybe we should do science.
No.
No, that's a dangerous bit of experimentation.
See, I told you it was
I will,
sciencey.
however, if everyone finds it amenable, I will remove one of the crystals without
Absolutely.
touching it, and we can see what happens.
With the magic rope?
No, just with my mage hand. I will mage hand one of the crystals out of the dwarf's mouth.
Okay. And are you just leaving it hovering in the air, or what's the plan?
Well, I'm just gonna. Yeah,
Here, put it in this. I produced the box.
I'll probably just
we
pull it out of its mouth, and it will hover for a second while I'm watching to see if anything happens. And if nothing happens, then I'll think about it and store it somewhere.
We have the box.
In a vial or box or something.
Okay.
Apparently, Gargantius has a box.
The puzzle
You
box.
just have the box. All right, so you pull it
You
out
used to have
and
one in
you're
it.
holding it there for a moment while Gargantius fishes around for some kind of thing to put the crystal in. And as you're holding it there, hovering in midair, you see the color slowly start to drain out of the crystal from the edges towards the center. It's going clear.
I move it more quickly away from the dwarf and hide it somewhere. Put it in the box.
Okay.
I did the box. I close it around the mage hand, I guess. I hope that doesn't produce pain or anything.
Yeah, mage hand isn't actually a hand.
Okay.
No.
Any change in the dwarf?
No. He's still if anything, he looks more lifeless.
I don't have much medical training, but I do have a bit from my time in the army. Perhaps I could examine them. So I'm going to examine both the one that I just took the crystal out of his mouth and one of the other ones and see if I can determine life.
If there's any difference? Yes.
Yeah, if there's any difference and if they are alive or not.
Wrong order.
So when I look at the one who I just took the crystal out of his mouth, I got a 7. When I look at one of the ones that is still in stasis, I got a 22.
Okay, so, I mean, the one that's you've taken the crystal out of the mouth, he looks less lifeful. But less alive.
Less lifeful is about as much as I got with my 7.
Yeah. The one that has the crystal still on his tongue, every indication, the pallor of his skin, even the way the skin rebounds from touch, it all would it feels like he's alive. He's not breathing, he's not moving, he's completely limp. But everything would indicate that he was still alive, except for the fact that, he has no pulse. He isn't breathing.
So it appears that the crystals are somehow holding them in a state of suspended animation. My best guess is that by removing the crystal, we may have actually killed that fellow.
Hey, so who does this? And how do you undo it?
That
Tavern comes in and looks around. Is like, have we not buried them yet? Where?
Well, there's some doubt as to their state of.
I think we probably killed
no
that one.
Convinced that they're dead.
But
what
these
if
ones
they're
might still be
all
alive.
dead?
So I'll take a set and explain to
Are
Tavern
they-
what we just went through.
Are they cursed?
It's not by any standard curse. I believe that the crystals are holding them in some sort of suspended animation.
Let's let the party think about that for a moment and take a short 3-minute break. Let's take a short 3-minute break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. If you're watching on YouTube, the next video will be up soon. Go check it out when it's available. If you're watching on Twitch, we'll see you in about 3 minutes. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Glad I got here in time for the 3-minute break.
Yeah.